What's good, YouTube? In today's episode, me and Sin are reviewing Die Hard. So go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment down below on what's your favorite Christmas movie. All right, so let's get into it.
We want to take a moment to welcome everyone to the Watch This Shit podcast. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. My name is Seneca, the Mood Professor. With this podcast, we're going to give you the definitive. Oh, I didn't tell y'all. Today I got my collaborator and cooperator here, Young Sam. Go ahead and introduce yourself, bro.
Hey, it's Young Sam, aka the Movie Apprentice.
Let's go. With this podcast, we're going to give you the definitive decision on whether you should go view a new movie release or not. It's real easy. If we say, watch this shit, stop what you're doing, and enjoy some good cinema. If we say, don't watch this shit, avoid it as you would taking advice from strangers on airplanes. Or don't. You can do what you want. It may be fun, or it may see you barefoot walking over broken glass. You don't want to listen to us? Put your life in your own hands. A happy accident led to us seeing today's movie in Dolby. I had initially scheduled us for an early screening of The Iron Claw, setting it so far in advance I had time to forget what location we were supposed to be at. So when we got to our regular scheduled theater that we always go to, I checked the tickets and realized I've made a huge mistake. There was no time to get to the other side, the other theater, but the Audible wasn't too bad. We got the chance to start the Christmas season off right with motherfucking Die Hard. You know what it is. This movie doesn't need any introduction, but I guess I still kind of gave it one. Young Sam, we still haven't seen the Iron Claw, but was Die Hard at least an acceptable consolation prize?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's always a good day to watch Die Hard.
You better believe it. It's not always a good day to Die Hard, but it is always a good day to watch Die Hard
Yeah.
because that one was yuck. All right, crazy enough, this was the first time I've seen this movie in a theater. One of the greatest action Xmas movies. I've seen it dozens of times, and this was the first time that I've seen it in its intended presentation. The story is motherfucking Die Hard. I know I don't have to tell our audience what that means, but in the spirit of keeping with our regular format, let's still look at the story. We have John McClane, your average Joe New York City cop, going through some marital hardships with his wife. She has moved to California with their young kids, and he wants to surprise them for Christmas. He flies over and is going to reconnect with his estranged wife at her job. After a less than romantic conversation with her, his holiday plans are thrown into chaos as a terrorist group takes her company hostage. They have a convoluted plan that will allow them to fund their illegal operation by robbing Nakatomi Tower's vault. McClane must now fight off the invasion while brandishing a pistol and a wife beater. Young Sam, if you would have gotten to your estranged wife's job and had seen her maiden name on the door, would you even go up to take to her? Like, what would you do? What was your
No, I'm getting back into the cab with those
Argyle?
dudes. Yeah, I'm getting back in the cab with our guy. Like, hey man, let's go. Let's go. Let's go find somebody.
Yeah, probably the flight attendant, right? But no, seriously, I'm just saying, I would have been watching that shit on the news. Oh, you don't want to be a McClane no more? Well, figure out how to get safely out of this situation by your damn self. Bruce Willis proved with this role that he is a bankable Hollywood star. The studio took a big chance with him here. Some of the television rust can still be seen in his performance, or maybe this is going to be unpopular. Maybe Willis was always just an okay actor with great luck. I don't want to argue that today. I say chance because he was on the romantic comedy TV show Moonlighting. Your mom will probably know about it. Ask her. That's what he was best known for at the time. So a risk was taken as he wasn't a proven big screen commodity at the time. We can look back and say, of course, he was the right guy for the job. We've had a chance to see his performances in Sin City, 12 Monkeys, Unbreakable, and of course, Pulp Fiction. It's easy for us in the future to say he's the perfect guy to bridge the gap between the Schwarzenegger Stallone era and bring it to the more reasonable Willis Tom Cruise era. Young Sam, what would you say is your favorite Bruce Willis performance? And could you have seen anyone else in this role?
Uh, my favorite Bruce Willis performance was probably Fifth Element.
That's a good one.
Fifth Element. And man, around that time,
Mhm.
ooh, I don't really think I could have saw anybody else that could play that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Stallone and they couldn't do it like
Schwarzenegger, yeah,
he
they would've
did.
been too big to get in them damn vents.
Yeah, I'm stuck.
Oh, man. I'm very partial to the Zeb is dead line. So I'm always going Pulp Fiction as my favorite Willis performance. I can walk by a TV and that movie is on, and no matter where it is, I will stop and watch it. I had to stay in a Best Buy one time a whole hour because they had that shit on TNT with the edits on. One of my top 5 favorite films for sure. Now, let's talk about the guy that some would say is the real star of this movie, Alan Rickman. He plays Hans Gruber and is regularly listed as one of the top movie villains of all time. If you count Snape, and you probably should, he is proficient at playing some of the most memorable antagonists in the history of cinema. His demeanor and mannerisms are so cool and sharp, not to mention that snazzy ass suit he had on. Matter of fact, he was dressed so well, he refused to get physical. My favorite bit is him pretending not to be the mastermind behind the whole operation when he runs into McClane after only communicate him with him through a walkie-talkie. Walkie-talkie die hard. That's a Rick and Morty reference. Seriously, the tensest moment came from the cat and mouse game of which one of them will get the advantage by pretending not to be or not to know who Gruber is. It is very, very well put together. From the placement of the gun to the handing over of the gun with no bullets in it. The only thing that I saw as an issue was the ending of that particular set. McClane had Gruber at gunpoint, dead to rights, and his lackeys dinged up the elevator. I know he wanted to put bullets down range before they had a chance to get a bead on him, but he could at least put a couple bullet bursts on Gruber. If he did, that would have been a totally different situation. Sam, what did you think of Rickman's performance? Was he the
Oh,
one
it
that
was
made this movie?
yeah, I think he partially made the movie. I liked his performance. I think like I said, he's a really good villain. But I actually remember him, and I don't think he was a villain. I think he was God in Dogma.
He was. No, he was an angel.
He was an angel, yeah, and
Uh-huh.
that's where I first remember seeing him.
I forgot about
And
Dogma.
yeah, see, that's
It's
a
a good
deep
movie.
cut.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
But yeah, I think Alan Rickman, he partially made the movie. I think that his acting with him and Bruce, made the whole movie because, like you said, if it wouldn't have had Bruce and had somebody else, I don't think it would have gelled as good as it did.
Mhm. Yeah, it wouldn't have been believable.
Right.
Yeah. I mentioned Tom Cruise earlier. That was an intricate setup to talk about how he would have rocked the stunts of this movie all by himself. The fire hose swing, the standing on top of the tower hundreds of feet in the air. If that had happened, if those stunts were real, they wouldn't have to use the horrible 80s era green screen. I mean, it looks bad, bad. No realism at all. Thankfully, everything else in the movie is a positive. Even Argyle listening to the same Stevie Wonder song for 3 hours. He played skeletons from the time he dropped Willis off until the time until it was time for him to throw that one solid right hook. Even when Reginald Vell Johnson, shout out to Carl Winslow, who had a terrorist thrown through his squad car and crashed that motherfucker down a steep drop, got out the car, and another officer wiped his injuries off with a napkin, causing his injuries to immediately heal. Either this nigga got a Wolverine healing factor or somebody in the continuity department fucked up big time. We not gonna let them get off the hook with those garbage ass explosion effects. Just don't use explosions if they're gonna look like that. I don't like it. I
80s.
don't like it at all. I know it was the 80s. That shit was ugly. I'd rather they just pretend the explosion went off, cut the camera away, and then let us hear the sound of the blast and have some orange and red lights shine over a nearby surface. The 80s were a crazy time. Young Sam, how did you feel about that cutting edge technology they were using for the computer systems and tape decks?
Oh boy, that took you back. I mean, watching this whole movie was just like just a blast from the past because you see so much of the tech and you're like, man, I say it in the movie. I'm like, man, I'm glad we live in the future because like the tech that they was using, I mean, it was high tech at that time, but going back and looking at it now, it's like,
Primitive.
whew, that is garbage.
Mhm. Yeah. No. No, thank you. Um, now, damn it, I said the effects were my only negatives, but I gotta talk about Miss Gennaro, McClane's supposed wife.
Oh
She ain't shit. Like, all day, she ain't shit. She is played by Bonnie Bedelia, and if that name doesn't sound familiar, then that's okay. She's never had another major role on the big screen after this. Matter of fact, she was bullshitting so hard, they had to write her out of the series. She was in Die Hard too, yeah. But after that, no, she had to go. That's saying a lot for a series that had entries so bad, they made Die Hard die easy.
God.
She was the original Skylar White. Yeah, I said it. No one is mad at her for trying to pursue her career. Well, McClane was, but not I. I understand that part. It's when you try to cover up a marriage so that you can work on promotions, that's what turned me off to this character. Is that really worth it? Doing so just leaves room for that bitch ass coworker to try to hit on her. Okay, that's another thing. I don't like him either. I guess I am thinking of things that I don't like. So when I remember this movie, I don't even consider these motherfuckers. But writing down my thoughts on the movie shows me a different side. I get a different perspective of what I've seen. I want to challenge people, everybody, all my listeners. Watch any film, any film. You can like it or not like it. I don't care. Write down a description of the things that you've seen. You will uncover a lot about yourself. You will be able to take yourself out of the fun of being entertained and look at the art with a more critical eye. But I digress. Ellis bitch ass trying to help the terrorists get the detonators. You ain't part of the team. Sit your dumb ass down. Yes, he deserved to die, and I hope he burns in hell. Sam, do you have any glaring negatives you discover by rewatching this movie for a review?
Ah, the only glaring negative, I mean, it was just the things you mentioned. Kind of the green screens. It was just like
Mhm.
those are bad, and just the continuity
Mm.
things. Like Bruce Willis, he been on his feet. He been walking without socks all day. He got clean feet. He got clean bottoms of his feet. Like, come on, like you could at least throw some dirt on there. But okay, it was just little things like that. But overall, I still enjoyed the movie.
Oh
It's
yeah, hell yeah, that's not going away.
no,
Mhm. One thing that won't let me down,
here we go.
John McClane becoming the first participant in the tradition of rigging a building in order to stop an attack. Yes, Home Alone, you copied the industrious skills of one Sir Mr. McClane to propel your entire franchise. He was setting up traps and running routes that could only be done in a video game. After seeing him rig up all those escape routes, it made sense the way the stewardess looked at him in the opening scene. Yeah, I'm bringing it up again. People don't talk about it enough. I've never heard a conversation about it. There was no interaction between those two. They didn't talk. He didn't even attempt to riz her, but that bitch was trying to give him all the draws. She must have known that he was good with his hands. Speaking of sexualization, great segue. This movie is super 80s. That means at some point, them titties coming out. You might not know where, you might not know when, but they coming. This is one of the things I talked about in another review. I think it was Gen V. Action movies of that time knew exactly what the audience wanted. Willis walked by the same nudie mag poster 2 separate times while fighting to stay alive and to save all the hostages. And he brought attention to the pornographic images both of those times. He was by himself. Nobody was in the hallway with him. The dialogue about the naked ladies was for the audience. I still appreciate this more than random dicks sprouting out of nowhere, but it's no less out of place. I'll talk about it in my Poor Things review, but in that movie, the
Mm.
gratuitous nudity is balanced. You see a dick, you see some tits. I've been saying that should be the case for a long time. That's equality. Sam, did you see the similarities between Die Hard and Home Alone? Did you even think about it before we brought it up here?
I didn't. When you said it, I was like, huh. Okay. I guess Macaulay Culkin did rip off John McClane. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't think about it. What I was
Mhm.
thinking about was how Die Hard ripped off Rockstar with those heist. That's what I was thinking about.
That's what it did retroactively.
Yeah. I mean the movie the bank heist played just like a GTA bank heist. It was just like, well, you see where they get all this stuff from.
I was gonna ask if the movie made you nostalgic for robbing a casino.
A little bit.
Uh, one of this movie's greatest strengths is its over the top action. Holly's boss, Takage, stood 10 toes down on business when they asked him for the codes. He didn't flinch. Now, he was sweating like a pig in a butcher shop, but he didn't falter and caught a bullet to the head. Now, for a headshot kill, this was tastefully done. Think about this. A modern action movie would have seen the bullet travel down the barrel of the gun, exit the weapon, enter the victim's skull, come out the other side of his head, and give the audience a straight line of sight through the wound. This movie believed in the good sense of the viewers and just implied the kill. Maybe it's because we have become so desensitized to death, but I like this approach better personally. Killing is not glorious. By not just doing it for shock value, but in order to drive the story, causes me to respect this tactic even more. They saved all the hyper over the top action for the hand to hand fights. One of the goons did a full frontwards roll onto a table that the protagonist was hiding under. There was no reason for him to be that fucking extra. One of Gruber's henchmen, another one, the Fabio looking nigga, had a hand to hand fight with John McClane, and he really threw a karate chop in there. He's a man, not a board. What was that really gonna do to a human body? That fight was so soft, I couldn't wait for them to pull the guns back out. Sam, give us your expert insight as to how this action is so great, even with its shortcomings.
It just flowed really smooth. It just takes you back to a time where it was just like fighting scenes were a little bit better. Even I laughed at the part where every time they would punch, it had like a really deep bass note to it. So every time they would
Mhm,
go punch, you go boom, boom, boom. And you just miss stuff like that because you don't hear that nowadays. Now
it's
everything's
dope.
just so clean. Like this was just kind of like dirty. And I liked it.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird, right? You would think based on what I said, it would be bad, but it's amazing and entertaining.
Hmm.
The only thing that did make sense, yeah, I'm still in it, was the plan. So Gruber was a planning mastermind, but clearly the people that designed the tower were not. If the power to your building goes off, why the hell did a person design this think that it would make sense for that to trigger the vault to immediately release? That's the opposite of security. Anyone could have done this GTA heist. All they needed was a friend that worked for the electric company, and they could have come any day other than the day of the Christmas party with the lady that had an angry cop for a husband that she hadn't slept with in months. You don't think this nigga gonna kick everybody ass? Sam, the video game references were strong. Can you think of any other games that owe their damn near all their premise to this story.
Well, I don't know if, because I'm pretty sure, because when he got everybody out of the building and up on the roof, they were like, "Oh, your wife's not here," and that brought me back to Mario. It was like, "Up, your princess is in
That's
another
good.
castle."
That's
I was
good.
like "Oh, okay." But other than that, I can't think of any off the top of
I was
my
thinking
head.
Splinter Cell. I was thinking,
Yeah,
yeah, any of the games where you gotta stealth around and
yeah,
take out a bunch of goons.
I agree. I agree with
Even
that.
Hitman.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you wanna discuss before we shut down the first of our Christmas movie reviews?
No, no, I'm good. I mean, it's Die Hard.
It's
Yippee
motherfucking
ki
Die Hard.
motherfucker.
Right? So, you know what it is. Watch this shit immediately. It ain't Christmas until you see one of your favorite holiday movies. And this one is high on the list. Yeah, it's a product of its time. We said that. Yeah, some of the effects are dated. We said that. Yeah, McClane's wife is a bitch. I said that. But she's our bitch. And that's enough for me. Sam, go ahead with your verdict.
Hey, definitely watch this shit. You gotta watch it every year, and every year you watch it, you're probably gonna find something new. So yeah, watch this.
For sure. Thank you for listening to another episode of Watch This Shit. You come here for the realest take on new movies. So make sure to follow us so you're not left in the dark on whether you should check out a new movie or not. As a special holiday treat, we want to say Happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Yuletime, Winter Solstice, Feliz Navidad, Boxing Day, Malik Kalimaka, and whatever holiday you and your family fuck with. Join us next time when we review Wonka. And good day to you.